off if I get another call back. There's stuff going on.
No
Hope we're already
problem
live
at
anyway.
all. Oh, is it saying we're done already? Cool. I'll
It says
wait.
recording live on YouTube.
The progress bar's still going, but right. Cool. Awesome. No worries. Let me share my screen. So this one's exciting to me, maybe not to anyone else. Just trying to find the right one. I think this is it. So let's share that. Share, and hopefully this will do the right thing. So let's just rearrange these. Hopefully there's no top secret information there, right? So I am working on improving this achievements list a bit. So it's this ugly sort of table with just some text in it at the moment. And the new version has got like the nice, like the badge and then the name of the achievement and the description and then nice little avatars you can even hover over. I've actually got one here's one I prepared earlier. It's working pretty well. But where did I get to? I think it was a spec I was having some fun with. Yeah, I'm really having trouble mocking or overriding or yeah, something like that. So what happens? Oh, it's still in French, excellent. So when there's a certain number of recipients, if we want to call that, of the achievement, then it will sort of show just some of them and then say show more, and you can click on that to show them all. I might need to stop and start GDK. And it off and on again always works, right? Yeah, the problem I'm having, so I'm using I don't know what you call them, like mock data generated by fixtures. So I think the fixture, yeah, here we go. So the fixture that's created is, I think it's just awarding the achievement a couple of times, and I don't really want to modify this to award the achievement like 20 times. Or I don't want to create that amount of data because this fixture is used elsewhere as well. So my thinking of the easiest way to test this would be achievement recipients. So what this the way it kind of works is it uses this collapsed limit. And then depending on whether the recipient's length is greater than that, determines whether or not to show the more recipients button. And again, decides, whether to sort of slice and only show a certain number of those. Here we go. So we can see that we've got all of these, and then we click those, and it shows and hides. Happy days. So for my test, what I was hoping to do was override this limit and set it to like 1, or basically set it to a really small number. So instead of me having to create mock data to show the achievements being awarded to like 20 different people, I could just reduce that limit. But I'm just having an absolute nightmare trying to sort of overwrite this collapse limit
So the
constant, essentially.
So the fixture is creating like mock data, and
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
the description of how to create that mock data. But then that mock data exists somewhere, and we're pulling that in, right?
Exactly. So that mock data, here we go, test fixtures, blah, 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 blah.
Why don't we just override that bit to say,
So I guess
To say like,
we
oh, well, let's add 5, 10 extra users.
so we could, but the reason we use these fixtures is basically for scalability. So we used to
Mhm.
do a lot of manual crafting of mock data. So there would actually be here, it'd say like import this from mock data. And then there'd be a mockdata.js with the mock data in it. And if you
Right.
wanted to change and increase, you just kind of copy and paste and modify. The problem comes when, so for example, when I've changed this from looking like this to looking like this, I've changed the GraphQL query because before it was bringing back the ID, the name, and the description. Now it brings back the name, the description, the avatar URL, the user achievements. So when I change that GraphQL query, I would then have to have gone back and modified all of the mock data. But by using fixtures, it just automatically updates all of the mock data or updates the fixtures because these fixtures just point at the GraphQL query. So there's some really nice things about doing it this way. If it really comes to it, then yes, I guess I can copy and paste but again, it's just a bit of the manual mock data way I think we're sort of moving away from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There was another, I think I just had a flashback to an idea I had in the middle of the night, actually. So I was thinking it's not ideal, but maybe instead of bringing this in here, what if I was to make it a prop? Because obviously props are really hard, really easy to override. So maybe I just do prop.
So, sorry, the component we're looking at is the group. Where does it sit? Like, who, where do we get the data that is passed to it? Does it get its own data or is it passed to
Yeah,
it?
great question. So the data comes from the Achievements app. So that uses the GraphQL query, it uses Apollo to get the data. So where at the
And then it
moment
distributes it to the achievement recipients.
bingo. So I
Oh, yeah,
figure
great.
we can add, what did I just call it? Collapse limit in here.
So why change the collapse limit for the test rather than mock out some extra users like for the
I think
achievement
it's just
recipients?
easier. Like I say, otherwise we have to modify the fixture or create a new fixture, which creates a whole load more data. I guess
Can you show me in the achievement recipient spec how that works?
How what works because that's the problem. This isn't working at the moment.
Okay.
That's what I'm
So
trying to fix. But now I've got I can get rid of this.
Where did you? Oh, I was going to say, where did you get that example code from? Because I'm just googling Stack Overflow,
Yeah,
and they've got different examples
exactly
here.
that. That's exactly where I got it from. But I tried numerous, and what it seems as though I was getting some luck. I don't know if I've still got them open. No, I haven't, unfortunately. It seems like when I don't exactly understand the life cycle of the test, but it seems like you can mock it up here, you can override the value, but you can't do it sort of inside the test. That was pretty much the problem that I was having. And I wanted to just adjust it just for one specific test. So yeah, it was causing a bit of a pain for that reason. But I think if I do this, and then
so you've imported the group achievements response which is a JSON,
Yeah.
and we've got the recipients, which is the nodes. So either we can, so the options are we can add a fixture that has, I don't know, 10 users that have that achievement response,
Yeah.
and then that will automatically override, like cap out the limit, or and because we don't want to make a new fixture, um, it would be possible, I guess, to just add a couple of mock ones in, or maybe just like repeat a few.
So
Like if we
that's
have,
where it becomes
yeah.
challenging, because this is actually does a distinct, so it also you would need to modify each of them, or each of them would have to be for a unique user. That's kind of another you're right, and I think I will call it out on the MR to sort of say like, oh, I chose to do this for this reason, but I think if there's a general consensus that that's maybe a lazy approach rather than an intelligent approach, then fair enough. I think I will just create that.
Right.
Let's call it
And
more
when
verbose mock data.
when would you change the limit of avatars that you show ever?
So that's a good question. I guess somebody might sort of say like, oh, we should do it so it fits within this, or we might do something dynamic based on the page width or something, so that it always fills one row, or maybe it's a org setting, or I
But this
don't
is
really know.
the purpose of this page is for GitLab administrators to create new achievements and award them, right?
Yeah, group administrators, yeah.
Okay, so that could include like not just the GitLab admin, but other like group admins.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So is this the list that they would also use to find out who has what achievements?
Potentially. Yeah.
Is there another place that they would use that now?
I think it would be looking at a user's profile, or just using GraphQL is the only other real way at the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, pretty much. If you want to say, oh, who are our MVP winners, then the best place to
Yeah.
go would definitely be to this, to look at the MVP achievement and then look at the recipients there.
So I guess, yeah, maybe it messes with the design of the page, but like, why have a limit on the, like if we just do the limit with like CSS to say fit as many as you can, and then show all should be like a list of the people with this achievement, right?
Yes.
Do we have like a design for this page, or are we just making up as we go?
We do, albeit that I don't know if it let me just see if it's linked. If not, I know I've got it on another screen. Give me a moment. So we didn't call out explicitly like, oh, if there's more. Well, actually, interestingly, here we've got pagination, but that's when I'm not building this bit yet. That can be a future iteration. It was something on so I passed this for the first round of review.
Yeah.
And somewhere it says, yeah, what happens if this list ends up with hundreds of recipients? Should we truncate it so it doesn't fill up the entire badge with the users? Which I fully agree with. So, and
That's
it's
true.
the same thing we do here,
How about we
right?
just do it in how about we just do it in CSS? So then we can list hundreds of users and we just hide them. Like it's not going to slow down the page very much, and it's not a high performance page anyway.
So I've not seen, do you know anywhere that we do that in the product? So all the examples I've seen have that they use this because I've stolen this basically from participants, which is this widget here, which essentially, renders. I don't know how we do that. So we've got this default number of participants, which is 8, and then after that we sort of truncate and we have a show more button that will show the rest of them.
Yeah, I think so. So in the breadcrumbs, you have you can have a full number of in the each page has the breadcrumbs at the top. You can have a very, very long list, and it's just shortened with CSS. And then if you click on it, then you see all of it, right?
Could you have a quick look to see if you can recreate that and have a look how we achieve that?
Find the logic, you mean?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see if this is now anywhere near a working state.
You need to use Control D there, Lee.
Control D.
Oh, when you're selecting the text, it'll select the next instance of it.
Yes. Nice. I like that. Oh, well, my test passing now. That's a good start. I can get rid of my console log. Hopefully I can then do when you move from front end to back end, how did your brain struggle sometimes as well? Like I'm thinking context, or is it just describing it that you use in Jest, or? Yes, so.
I'm sure I've used context in Jest, but maybe not.
No, I don't think so. But
oh no, context. Yeah, context is Ruby.
I don't know what context is, so that probably means
do you have? Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
you have this kind of describe is kind of your outermost like block. So you'd normally describe in Ruby world like a method with a describe block, and then within there you use context to sort of say like when this, when that, when the other, and then you have your it blocks for your actual assertions sort of thing. So right, so
there's like there is there's another one where you can feed it the matrix of options, but not real good at that.
Yeah. Like the sort of it.each or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
So we'll say.
Yeah, I found the logic for breadcrumbs in GitLab UI.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all done on CSS. Do you want me to show you?
Nice. Let me.
I think it's done in CSS.
Stop my share, or should I just go to the GitLab UI?
I can share.
Cool. Let me find where the hell my button's gone. There we go.
So this is the GitLab UI component for breadcrumbs. It's not the one that's always used. We
Yep.
usually use the one in Ruby on Rails because it's a lot easier. But we have this where sorry. So expand breadcrumbs, item is collapsed. We show the expander if it has collapsible. Oh,
But this isn't CSS, right? This is JavaScript that we're using
this
to.
is JavaScript, but here's the logic of, well, I guess yeah, it's not. It is just using JavaScript.
So it's pretty much the same technique that I'm using, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it is the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Be interesting to see though, is the number of like how does it determine like how many was
Yeah.
there I think I've got a feeling this collapse. I don't know. I was going to say collapses everything except the first and the last, but I can't remember in what scenario it does that.
So it's showing every item in the list. And then this is showing, is the item not collapsed? Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I thought it was more straightforward. Show collapse breadcrumb expander. So that should only show if we exceed the number of the limit. Right? But I don't know what it is that sets the limit.
Yeah.
Collapse
There
that
you go.
size.
Collapse that size. So it's a const in this instance.
Yeah. So then if there's more than 4, we have a collapsible. And so then if there's more than 4, instead of showing the whole item and the avatar, we don't show the avatar or the text.
Yeah.
So we show the first one and then not the others.
Makes sense. Right.
So maybe this is different. We say we show the first one, we show the last one always, and if there's more than that, then we generally hide them.
Yeah.
But here is a bit different because we have like, well, if there's more than 3, don't show them anymore. But we could just do like the same sort of thing, like a template for, to list each item. And then
Yeah.
once the index of the item is above the limit that we set, then we stop showing them. But I guess that's probably what you've already done.
Yeah, I mean the logic to actually do it is kind of okay. I'm happy and
Okay.
comfortable and
Yep.
confident with that. It's like I say, but I think you've
Just
called out
testing it.
a little bit that yeah, exactly. Which I find quite often with you, and I'm slowly getting a bit better with it. I know like there was some advice I got recently around, sometimes when you're struggling like this, it's an indication that what you're trying to test is not sort of input output, and that is something that belongs more in like a feature spec, for example. But this one I think is fairly straightforward. I'm almost let me just share this again.
So the only problem we have is the mocked data doesn't have enough entries
Exactly.
to show.
Yeah. So the
you're
options
saying
were
it's easier to reduce the number that you show rather than
yes,
fix
pretty
the
much.
mock data. Yeah, okay,
Pretty
cool.
much. Yeah, exactly. So we're almost there. So what I'm trying to, so I think I might need to.
Maybe we can just mock the collapse limit.
That's
Like, instead
exactly
of
what I
making
was
it a
trying
prop.
to
Oh, that's
do.
what you were trying to do. I
Yeah,
see.
but I just
Okay,
wasn't.
I'm on board now.
wasn't. No,
Look,
it's all
can
good.
we
It's all
get that
good.
code? Can we get that code that you deleted at the start back, and maybe I can try to work through it? I find it very difficult also, but
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me just show you because I definitely would have found so more
yeah.
just. But I found like an explanation somewhere of like why it doesn't, like why
Yeah.
you can't yeah, it was basically this that I was trying to do. Just dot mock, then the file that I wanted to kind of mock something from, and then the const key, I guess the key and value. But somewhere I
Um,
found, so if I
I
do a
found
search for something.
the instructions for how the in the front end testing, there's a mocking strategies with Jest.
Oh, okay.
Might be useful to read, but I can't read it while you're talking. Sorry. Maybe we can read it together.
Which
I'm
is
gonna send you
what
the copy of the
mocking
path.
one of these.
And then from I can't see your screen. Oh yeah, well I guess it's the same. Yeah. So then this is how so instead of using Stack Overflow, if you use the example from here, it should work better, right?
Yeah, so let's just have a read. Is this the one or
Yeah, this is it. Mhm.
so this is what I was using, but this bit is subtly different. So let's just say Jest supports manual module mocks by placing a mock in a mocks directory next. Example. Don't do this. Okay. If a manual mock is needed, use the spec front end mock folder here. The manual mock is needed for a CE module place implementation. Additional mock.
We want to mock the constant that we're importing, right?
Yeah, but even that, like, I mean, initially, I suppose that's okay. I don't know why.
Right? Like we've got a limit of the number of avatars we show, and we want to change that to 1. And
Yeah,
that limit is set as a constant.
yeah.
And so what you're considering is making it a prop. But instead of that, if we mock the constant to instead of being 4 or 5, we mock the constant to be 1. But
I'll go back
it's
to
a
I'll go
pretty
back to it in a
fragile
minute.
test, right?
Yeah, I'll just get this. This one looks like we're pretty much onto a winner here. But I'll go back and I'll show you exactly what was happening. Because now I'm importing the const in achievements app, and I'll show you exactly what was happening when I was trying to override it. Because yeah, it just didn't seem to be playing ball. So let's just have a look. So it looks like we're good actually. So we're saying that with the default collapse limit, then it renders like both of the recipients. If we override the collapse limit and set it to 1, then it only shows one recipient and it shows the buttons. So maybe I should.
That makes sense to me, and it works, but it's a bit of a useless prop, right? It should be a constant.
Yeah.
So I don't love it,
Um,
but
so when clicking the
I
more
guess if we just
button,
make I think if we make an issue to say like, hey, let's replace this at some stage, then it's fine, right?
well, I mean, I could argue that there might be somewhere else. Like, let me try and think about rationalizing this for a couple of seconds. So
Yeah.
this is this is
Sorry,
here.
I have
What
to
if
go
for
in just a couple of minutes, just so you
yeah,
know.
yeah, no worries, no worries. What if, for example, so looking at the mock-ups in here,
Yeah.
like I don't know what these buttons would do exactly, but let's say one of these was like edit or maybe even like for me, if I was to go to you just Jay
I just had an
Rushford or
idea. Sorry.
yeah,
What if we only show the first 5? Because it's going to have a
right.
collapsed list anyway. So if there's 1, we show 1. If there's 5, we show 5. If there's 10, we show 5. It doesn't matter. Because we're not using it as a data set. We're using it as a like a visual indicator of what's in there.
How would that
Like
help though? Sorry.
if you want to see the list, so it would help because um uh because you don't need to test what you're not doing, right? We're only going to show the first 5. So then we say like in the for if we're only showing if the index is less than 4. And then we don't
Yeah,
need to
but
test for something that we're not ever going to do.
we do. I would say that's one of the things that we need to test. That if you pass this component 10 recipients, that only renders the first 5. I think that is something that we need to test. And
Yeah,
then,
but it
like
should
I've
never
been,
render more than 5 anyway. And then it's going to be
what
in the whole list.
what I've
So we
then
don't
gone
need to
on.
test, is it rendering 6? No, who cares? It's never going to render 6, right?
Well, yeah, but I think that's exactly what the purpose of the tests are, right? You don't just say, oh,
So
well, I've told it to only render 5,
no,
so I don't need to test
but
that.
at the moment we say render all of them and then limit it to 5,
Not
right?
really. No,
Uh,
I don't.
How does the component work? Because if the component says render 5 or less, then we only need to test. Does it render 5 or less?
I don't think that's how we do testing. Just going back to my other thing
Okay.
about why we might want to use a prop to
Yeah.
limit the number. So let's give an example. Let's say on here we wanted to give the ability for us to edit or kind of view this achievement.
Uh-huh.
Then we've started using the draw more and more, like the GL draw. So we could have something where we maybe click on it here or click on it
Yeah.
here and it pops out the draw. And maybe in that scenario, we want to reuse like this same sort of design, but we don't want to display as many because the draw's not as wide. So
Yeah, I
that's
see
a
what you
sort of
mean.
a bit of me making excuses as to
Yeah.
why we might want it as a prop. But it's
Yeah,
rendering
yeah,
the
I think that
button.
works. That's fair. Like, all right, that
It
works.
renders the button when we exceed the collapse limit,
Yeah, I like it.
and it
Yeah,
doesn't when we
you're right. There's
don't.
better options, but this makes sense. Yeah,
And
as long as there's
then,
one other place where you might be able to change it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Fine,
yeah.
fine.
And then when we click on the button, then we're rendering them all. And I suppose I should probably test the last sort of function or feature or whatever you want to call it, which is
Mhm.
when you then collapse it back down again afterwards, that
Oh, yeah.
to make sure that actually does what it's expected. Then I think I'm testing all the functionality.
Sweet.
Um,
Sorry, I got to run. But that was
no
that was
worries. Thanks for
interesting,
joining,
useful.
James.
Thanks. See
I'll
ya.
send you the example later as well of what wasn't
All
working.
right. Sweet. Thanks.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, Andrew. Bye.
Bye, James.
So, did you have this much fun writing your jest tests for the
Oh
component?
yeah, and it still didn't catch everything. So
So we mount
yeah,
component.
this left hand side of the top thing is going all right so far.
Right.
I haven't got to the annoying bit with the badges yet though, so I don't know how bad that's going to be.
Just going to change these descriptions, then I think I'm done with this. So it should render the expected number, so it should render the expected number of recipients. And no button. Should render the that'll do me, I think. I'm just gonna check if that was all of the feedback that so yeah, so I don't know if you've experienced this before, Andrew, but initially this logic that I've moved into the achievement recipients. Oh, sorry, I've got to grab a cold. Just need 2 seconds.
Sure.
That was using.
Say again, sorry.
So the wife. So the window cleaners come round, and since last time they came round, we've kind of added a little pergola thing in the garden. But it's sort of attached to the back of the house, so it can't reach the windows on the back of the house anymore. And she said, well, if you open the roof, like you might be able to do it. Can you do it? I was like, you're at home, right? I'm in the office. Like, can you not open the technology, right? Anyway, right. So sorry, yeah. So the initially this kind of logic here. So I've got basically an anchor, which is sort of a for loop for each of the recipients, and then for each one it uses this user avatar image, and then potentially shows a button to toggle.
Sorry, user avatar. I've been checking pajamas, but I've only used the avatar component. I wonder if there's a project avatar one.
Might be. But yeah, all this logic initially was in the main achievements app. So it was getting quite, I don't know how to explain it, but like we've got a V4 for each achievement in achievements. And then inside that, we then had these loops for each like user in the achievement recipients type thing. And I was having to use like methods where instead of computeds, and then now that I've moved it into its own component, because there's only like one set of recipients, and all of these has more recipients. There's only one instance of these, so it's much nicer to have them as computeds, whereas before they were all methods and you had to pass in the achievement ID and then it would. So yeah, it's just so much easier to maintain state, etc. But yeah, I think we're almost move it into so yeah, different. So I think it needs to be a method.
Where did you get that user avatar from? Because it's not in the pajamas docs or story book.
It was just Was it called? User
Oh,
something,
okay.
user image avatar or something. I can't remember what it was now.
So it's not
Um,
part of pajamas. Oh, okay.
No, I actually got it from here. This is what I was saying to James. This is the first place that sprung to mind where I was like, oh, I know that we've got this kind of, um, we display a certain number of things and then there's a button to display more of the things. And it just so happens that those things were also users. So I was able to basically still from this participants, this user avatar image component, and it made my life way easy.
Aha, there is a project avatar in View
Nice.
Shared Components.
Nice.
It's doing exactly what I was doing, but I will reuse it because why not? I realized while I was on hold. While you're on the phone, I started singing some song from a kid's cartoon.
It's not Bluey, is it?
No,
Bluey's
not
probably
Bluey.
a bit young for your kids, but it's just like sweeping the nation at the moment, and you constantly find yourself humming the theme tune.
I don't know. I'm 40, well, nearly 42, and I still enjoy watching Bluey. So
has it been knocking about a lot longer over like because it's Australian, right?
yeah, I mean it's been out a while, and we obviously got it first. But I don't know how much earlier it was than the rest of the world.
It's probably been a while now, but it does feel like only the last like year or so that it's really kind of just
2018, so yeah, 6 years. Gosh.
Oh wow, yeah, I definitely, it's definitely sort of newer to me than that for sure. I think I've made all the changes there now, to be honest. What I guess I need to do is just have a look at the diff. Exactly.
There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos about the theme song and how the music's in really odd timing.
Oh.
Which is intentional because it's what do you call it? Musical statues.
Okay. It's my first time using GL Card as well. I don't know if you've seen that before.
I haven't seen the GitLab version, but I have seen like the Bootstrap stuff
behind
it.
Yeah, initially it was a bit frustrating because I stole I'm not sure which one. Like, no, not really that. More like when you're on an issue, which is this one. I kind of stole this. So I was like, oh, how does this work? I had a look at this and it's like, oh, it's using GL new card and GL card and GL card header. So I used all those CSS classes to build what I wanted. And then when I went to commit and push, a limp rule said, don't use these classes, use this component. Damn it.
Got to rewrite everything. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just having a look. So yeah, see how much rather than all this kind of embedded stuff using methods and passing in these kind of things, I now just have this component and I just pass in like recipients, and inside that component it does the sort of loopy stuff. Just blah 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 blah. I think that's good. Use avatar. So yeah, commit. Move. See how many violations of Prettier I've
None. Oh,
Not quite there yet. I think yeah, it has run, hasn't it?
Hmm,
Nice. Blimey. We'll
good
see.
job.
So do I wait for the pipeline or do I sign it now? Smart fences.
EQRSTUV. Got to work out the alphabet.
Okie dokie. No.
Apparently, there's no tooltip for a band project. It's weird.
You want to flick to your screen for sort of 10 minutes or call it a day or?
Yeah, we can do if you're curious.
Yeah, why not? It's nice to
Uh,
see you dominating in the Hamel to view conversion.
oh gosh, how do I do this again now? Everything's changed. Window, desktop capture. Is this going to work this time? And I think I want this one. Is it going to work? No, it's up. No, there we go. Is it working?
At the moment, I see a very bright white screen.
Okay, that's not working then. Desktop capture. I want that monitor. Share. Your screen sharing is loading.
Yeah, that looks better.
Ah, okay, cool.
Although scarily, I see myself.
Oh, hang on, I'll move you. Move you to a different monitor. Yeah, I'm not doing anything particularly exciting at the moment. I was, when you're working on something, you just change a bunch of stuff and commit it as WIP or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've gone through and updated my commits so they actually make sense now.
Okay.
I'm adding the visibility icon, but after seeing you do some stuff there, I've just found there's a constants file here that defines what I'm after.
Oh, okay.
And it's really weird. They've got visibility icon, which I'm copying. I've just realized they've got visibility level labels, but they've also got project visibility type. And these actually work out to the same thing in the pot file. But annoyingly, they don't have visibility band. And if we check,
Oh yeah, because you're saying they're numeric, but then that one's a string, right?
yeah, they're numeric on the project. But there's also not in that one avatar component. That's going to be way too many files.
Have you searched for the word spam?
Yep.
Excellent.
Somewhere. Is this the one? Icon sprite spam. Yeah, here we go. This issuable is hidden because its author has been banned. Icon spam. Maybe that's not
I'd
the
love
one.
to see a
because
tin of
that's-
spam as a
Yeah.
visibility icon.
Yeah, because it says here, like when it's a project, this project is hidden because its creator has been banned. That's what I need. But this isn't actually defined anywhere in the other constants. So
Right. Okay.
in my new header thing, I've got to do an actual check for ban here. It's ban do that. If it's ban do that. What's the difference between
Yeah.
a double underscore and the single underscore? I can never remember.
So single is basically Haml, the Ruby translation, and double is the JavaScript translation.
Oh, right. Because then there's also S underscore
S
underscore.
S underscore with a
That's
single underscore is
namespaced.
namespaced Ruby. S double underscore is namespaced JavaScript.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean, it's really hard with this sort of thing because I think you're right. Eventually, we're going to need it in the front end, so this is probably the right approach. But like, there's a small part of me that says, well, why don't you just pass the string from the back end to the front end?
yeah, I could do. That would feel
Um,
very nasty.
yeah, I mean,
Already in this oh, what's the name of the method again? In this here, home panel data attributes, we're passing all of these in for the home panel, and then all of these in for each of these different components
yeah,
over here. And
yeah.
let me just check my security. Yep, this is definitely local.
The other
Is it still going to
thing,
complain though? Probably will do, won't it? There you go. We shouldn't have seen that. And then yeah, you end up with this. Let me. Can I format this? You end up with this giant div,
yeah,
like something
yeah,
like this, which is passing all the things in. Oh, actually, that's quite a small one. I've
yeah. I
seen some which
mean,
are passing in giant arrays full of random data.
the question is though, like, sort of, is that an issue? Is one question, but the other sort of thing is like, okay, so if we wanted to, I don't know what you want to call it, like, what's the alternative? And I guess the alternative is that you just put the ID in it and then you use a GraphQL call to get all of this data, or
Yeah.
which at the end of the day, you're still making a call and getting all the data back. But you could argue it's faster or slower. I think probably slower because it's an additional call. Whereas at least at the moment it's embedded, it's, I guess we call it server side rendering, right? Like SSR sort of, like where it's, all the data you need is, or not all the data, but more data has already been prepared and sent to the browser that then the front end components can consume that data without having to make the additional API calls. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but so I mean, following that to the like extreme conclusion, why bother with Vue at all?
and
You
that's
I mean, GitLab was working perfectly fine as a fully back
so
end rendered
yes
application.
and no. So here's I think the answer is, and I mean, I'm not qualified to answer this, but the answer is it's to do with static content essentially. So, for example, this page here that you're looking at, that's just rendering like the home page of the project, it's all pretty static, and it's like, well, yeah, server-side rendering is perfect for this. But as soon as you want to then navigate the tree, the file tree, so go into the doc folder, for example, if that's a Vue component and it doesn't have to reload, it doesn't have to actually route you to a new page and completely regenerate the entire, like the sidebar, the navigation, everything else. If just the middle bit. So before we were probably using jQuery to achieve that, whereas now, with Vue and a Vue component, we can just kind of retrieve and modify I guess there's a couple of components, right? There's the component that shows where you are in the tree at the top, and then there's the actual file explorer bit itself. But at the moment, because we're in this weird hybrid, we end up having to navigate to a new page, re-render the entire page and all of the view components on that page.
Mhm.
But
So, I mean, again, going to the other extreme, then, if that's what you want to do with GitLab, like the whole page has to be view.
yeah, and I mean,
Or you only, when you click on the doc, you only update this component
yeah, I mean,
rather than what it's doing now.
my desire is honestly to move more towards a single page application and SPA type thing, but it's not, to the best of my knowledge, within the sort of roadmap. It's not something we design, just because it's practically impossible at this stage of the product. Well, you can understand, right?
That's the thing. I don't think it is, to be honest. I mean, when I was at Intelli, we had exactly the same issue. We had like 6 years worth of legacy application in Laravel, but we were building a React front end. And the only way that it's possible to do it is to port little pieces a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And new pages you build completely with React or Vue in this case, if possible.
I think that's
a whole other thing.
Yeah, and I think that's something that maybe we need to better like make a decision on and communicate, because you probably, I know you're familiar because we've paired on these bits and pieces, but with CRM and with achievements, I think they're the only things that I can think that I've introduced. I've built them as pretty much SPAs. So when you navigate to either the CRM or the achievements page, it renders an entire app that's the whole page. And if you click on new, you're still within the same app. It just renders another component. It uses View Router to do all the routing. And yeah, that's the approach I've taken, that kind of SPA approach. But I don't know that we really do that anywhere else.
I know a few other pages have done that. The new version of Iterations.
Oh, okay.
That has something similar to that. I know because there's some bugs in there where it doesn't route things properly and you end up with weird state issues.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole other thing. So yeah, I know a few other places are. But I mean, I think with something like this
issue at some point,
with something like this, if these tiny little things aren't moved over to Vue, then that idealized end goal is just never going to happen.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Even with things like this, there are questionable enhancements that you could still do, like the logo here. If that avatar gets changed, you can have a subscription that just updates that real time for people. Stars and fork counts, I think, would be a nice one to have, so you can see real time updates to star count and the fork thing.
Yeah.
If you change your what's this notification setting, because I know you can do it from your preferences page. If you change it on the preferences page, this could update real time as well. Whether or not those things ever actually get done is another question, but there's potential improvements you can still do.
It's really interesting because, like, I think you're right, and I think I agree that those things could be done, and I'd almost classify them in the cool category, if you know what I mean. Like, it would be cool if that real time update. But the number of, and I guess on a bigger project, it's slightly different. You know, you might find something like the GitLab project that the number of stars and forks that happen per day make it much more likely that somebody, whilst on that page, would see them update. But in reality, I think the majority of projects, you know, the chances of any of those things actually changing while you're on the page are so small. The overhead that we introduce by creating subscriptions and, you know, additional Apollo queries and all the rest of it just would far outweigh the...
that's... I don't know if that's really an issue, though, is it? Because the subscription is going to be a zero cost if there's no changes. Like, you set the subscription up, but you're not actually going to get notified.
Yeah, but I would argue that it's not zero cost because you have to build it all, if that makes sense. So, you know, you have to create a GraphQL I don't know what it's called, but you have to create something which pushes those subscriptions. You have to create something in the Vue.js that subscribes to those subscriptions. Like, I know it's not, I was really surprised because I think I introduced it for CRM contacts. So when you're in an issue, if the contacts change, you get a real-time GraphQL subscription and it updates. But I would still say that there is a cost associated with.
Yeah, sorry,
even
I
just
meant like a server.
Yeah.
cost.
I see.
But
what
obviously,
you're-
there's the
you're-
development and the implementation cost, but yeah.
and then maintenance essentially that you've got more code, a bigger code base, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the architectural conversations are interesting. I have to see if I can find an issue or some issues. I know I've seen something about SSR about I think it was SSR static site, so server-side rendering. Sorry, yes. Because again, I've overheard some conversations outside of GitLab, and it does really sound like the industry has almost gone full circle, right?
Yes,
So
it has, yeah.
I don't know if you've been building web apps since the days where it was all server-side rendered,
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the original Ruby for GitLab was all, and a lot of it still is, that's server-side rendered.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know though. I think there was just a lot of jQuery.
Yeah. So the point of the new server-side rendered stuff is that the stuff that's doing the server-side rendering is the same stuff that's doing the client-side rendering once the client gets it. So like you would have Vue do the server-side rendering, calling the same APIs internally, I guess, as you would do as if you went straight to the page.
Yeah. Nice.
Unlike the Ruby server-side rendering where every page is an individual render.
Yeah. And then we have to rebuild everything with GraphQL APIs where we've already got REST APIs and we've got internal services and controllers and other bits and pieces. So yeah, all fun and games. Right. Better get to it. Good to see you. And
good to see you again too.
Same time next week, I guess.
No, different time. Wait, no.